Good evening and welcome to Called Into Questions, the hard game show where we ask hard questions during a very hard time. My name is Chris King and I am lucky to be joined to us today with a returning team. This is one of my usual teams at one of the restaurants here in Columbia, South Carolina. Y'all introduce yourselves for a second time on this fine quiz show.
We are David and Angie Rachels in our dining room in Newberry, South Carolina.
I'm Timothy Elston in my study in Newberry, South Carolina.
I'm Aaron Rachels in my, living room in Folsom, California.
I'm Kevin Kaiser in the swamp on the set of the show MASH.
That's right.
I'm kidding, I'm in Columbia.
Here we go. And it's very good seeing all of y'all again. Yeah, it's just we're still South Carolina, and I guess California is obviously still just locking down, and we figured might as well pass the time playing the trivia as it were, and it's good to see all of y'all again. And so it's our first comeback team. I don't know who won last time. We all won. We were all the team unity is what brought us all together, and so we're glad that we are united once again. Have y'all seen each other in video or face form since the last Zoom call? You'll probably been, messaging. Have any of y'all seen each other's faces since?
We've seen Aaron on several occasions, and we've seen Timothy. We've not seen Kevin.
There you go.
And Kevin, Matt just disappeared.
Yeah, I know. I was about to choose a different one, but
you have a very good green wall background, which is excellent. That's
for the purpose.
That's his prime. I've been just to show you how nonsensical it is here. I was just trying to figure out how Zoom backgrounds work. Apparently, you can put one envelope like this, and you can put one envelope like this. If you put them at the same time, your face. Yeah, I don't know why.
That's cool.
I don't know where the algorithm is there, but apparently now you know that two envelopes is too many for the Zoom background.
It's on chats with friends several times, just using a white wall behind me, or even a red sheet behind me. And with the white wall, all of my hair and my beard disappears, so it's just like my eyes, and that's it.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
And the red sheet didn't work either. It was all fuzzy and in and out. But you're right. This wall in my office is perfect for them.
Yeah, that's you can't beat it for good Zoom background stuff like that. So on our second game, back all those days ago, we had two specialist subjects. I had chosen the colleges of the state of South Carolina, and y'all had chosen the former King Henry VIII. And now we have chosen new subjects. If y'all will tell everyone what your subject is going to be tonight.
Our subject will be literature dealing with the American Civil War.
That's right. A nice literary subject there is American Civil War literature. And using the background here, my Zoom background is this is the recently chosen flag of the city of Columbia, South Carolina. But we are expanding a little bit larger. I have chosen flags of the world is a thing that I have chosen, which I'm very excited about. I have loved the flags for a while. I was able to name them all back in high school, and I have only gotten better as we've added more flags to the world. I think it was 193 is what the Sporkle number was at the time I was in high school, and now it is at 197. So there's been a few random things over time, South Sudan and Palestine and other little new areas around the world have added up. So hopefully a good pictorial all over the Zoom. I assume y'all could very well have share screen capabilities if you had a picture, but it might just be over the microphone. I'm very fine with that. No need to do that. But we're gonna have 15 questions we'll be asking each other. It's 3 rounds. First round is medium. Second round is hard, and round 3 is crazy hard, or also as mild, hot, and Diablo are good ways to describe the difficulty here. And then we'll have a final question that was written by the last team to play, but hopefully I'll be keeping the score all throughout tonight's game, and it's just to see, could you beat them on their questions? Could you beat me on my questions? If you can, very well done. But it's all just have a good time, ask some fun stuff, and see what is up. But why don't we go ahead and start our game today? Y'all will be getting the first set of 5 questions. So very best of luck, and we will see how y'all do. This is round 1 on our medium category. Good luck, everyone. Number 1 is the School of Pharmacy at the University of Pittsburgh is located in a hall named for what individual? Number 2, made up of pentagons and hexagons, how many vertices are on a truncated icosahedron? Number 3, Willie Nelson appeared on the 1974 pilot episode of what TV show produced by member station KLRU? Number 4, what is the more common name of the landmark formerly known as the Scalinata de Trinita de Monte? I will spell all that again when we get closer to it. And number 5 is your theme question. One sunny autumn afternoon, a child strayed away from its rude home in a small field and entered a forest unobserved, is the first line of what short story? So those are the first 5 questions in round 1. If you take another moment, you can pause it right here and you can go think about it. But we will start back up at the top with number 1 in this set is the School of Pharmacy at the University of Pittsburgh is located in a hall named for what individual?
So I'll start the discussion by suggesting that this individual has something to do with pharmaceuticals.
Ooh,
Right,
Good
so
input.
I was like gonna say Salk or,
But
What about Eli Lilly?
is he
Oh,
from
well.
Pittsburgh?
I don't know.
or pharmaceuticals, I'm thinking vaccines.
Bayer is German.
Pfizer.
Pfizer might be one. Again, I don't know if that's American or German.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
So why was Lily the first name that popped into your head?
It's the first name that popped in my head for pharmaceuticals, legal ones, that is. I'm trying to think of somebody else that might have been. Because more than likely, the School of Pharmacy would not have been named until after, even if it's an old school, it probably would not have been named until after the 1960s, when that became a very common practice of naming things after the particular donor.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if Lilly is there or if it's in Indiana. So that's my issue. But
Strongest answer.
So I have absolutely no idea why, but I associate the name, the Lily name with Indiana. Why would that be?
yeah, I for some reason I'm associating it with Indiana too, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Is something to do with Purdue? Maybe they're doing something there.
I don't know.
Pfizer. There was a big one in. It was Kevin. Is there any link with Pfizer that you know of with?
No, I was just tossing out names.
All right, I think that's what we got.
yeah.
What's the answer you're settling on?
I guess
Lily.
it's
David,
Lily.
Lily.
It is not Eli Lilly was the name you said. It is not
Yeah.
not Eli Lilly. So this person worked at the University of Pittsburgh, and he came up with his most famous creation in that building, and the building is now named for him.
So Angie, is it Salk?
Oh, I have no idea.
And the answer is?
Is that your second guess? Is Jonas Salk?
Sure.
Vaccines are in the news right now, and Jonas Salk was a pit panther, and the polio vaccine was created in the basement of the building that now bears his name, the Jonas Salk Hall at the University of Pittsburgh, and that is exactly right. Jonas Salk is that individual. Very well done.
Wow.
Yeah, and as I said, you were right with the medicine. It was pharmacy medicine, that same hand-in-hand type thing. But it was where the polio vaccine was created. There you go. Very well done. Number two, another in the scientific area. Number two was made up of pentagons and hexagons. How many vertices are on a truncated icosahedron?
I'm horrible with Latin prefixes. I don't know what icasa.
What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I know this is on me in theory, but
The big one is dodecahedron. Isn't that like 120 sides, I think? I don't know. What were you going to say, Angie?
I was just telling Aaron to say a number.
Say a number.
all
Yeah.
right.
Pretty much.
I'm gonna say 80.
Your guess is 80? I guess y'all going with 80 as your guess here. So it is not 80. So do you know what shape is just pentagons and hexagons? Like what? There's a name of this shape. There's also what this shape exactly looks like. Do you know what if it's made up of just pentagons and hexagons, it would look like?
So are you saying one shape that is like made of?
That's right. Like the faces of this polyhedron are made of just pentagons and hexagons. So
Soccer ball.
On some sides, there's pentagons. On some side, there's hexagons. And what it comes up to is this icosahedron.
This is truncated icosahedron, exactly. So pentagons and hexagons is what soccer balls looked like.
Yeah.
The original soccer ball. And that shape was also called a buckyball, which is named after Buckminster Fuller, the geodesic architect. And the buckyball is a shape that is common in medicine because it is made up is a carbon molecule that's just like a large, circular, spherical type grid. And do you know what number it might be after 80? It's a number in with a 0.
I'm gonna switch to 60 then.
That's right. It's
Okay.
the buckyball is C60 because 60 carbon atoms are in like a nice shape there. And it looks like a soccer ball, but that is the buckyball there, and it's exactly right. And it's a soccer ball, geodesic dome, and all that. Those were. I knew I wanted to start with some good science stuff at the beginning there, but yeah, that is exactly what it is. And icosahedron, icosa means 20. Icosahedron is one of the 5 platonic solids, and truncated means like it's kind of shaved off each of the original vertices. If you took like a 20-sided shape, or the D20, the dice with the D20, if you shaved off each of the vertices and come up with like a new shape within, that's like what truncated means. So now you have like a little, it's basically, you make it into a soccer ball shape, but it's C60, and that is a long connection there. That was hard, but I didn't really like any other later on. I wanted to have it there. So there might be easier questions later on, but there's a good chemistry math question there. Ooh. Yep. But full half credit on that. Number 3 is Willie Nelson appeared on the 1974 pilot episode of what TV show produced by member station KLRU?
So my first thought for that would be Austin City Limits.
That was mine.
I think that's a good answer.
We're moving with that. Yeah.
Anybody want to disagree? All right, we will say Austin City Limits.
That is exactly right. Willie Nelson, longtime Texan, and he was on the first episode of Austin City Limits. And KLRU is the member station of PBS that is there in the city of Austin. Very well done. Number 4 is, what is the more common name of the landmark formerly known as the Scalinata da Trinita dei Monti? And to spell all that, the first word is Scalinata, and then DI, then TRINITA, DEIMONTI, and that's Scalinata da Trinita dei Monti.
So it sounds Italian.
Trinity means 3.
Trinity means 3.
Dei is God. Was Dei Monti one word or Dei Monti?
DI space MONTI.
Okay. Dei is God, so God, Trinity, Monty.
Monte is mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Scalinata.
Oh, would this be the Spanish Steps, guys? I don't know. Something made me think that.
Nata sounds like the scales, steps. That makes sense.
Why did you say that, Mom?
I don't know, when he first read this out the first time, I had an immediate picture of the ugly boat fountain that's at the base of the Spanish Steps. But I was like, what? I don't know why I thought of that. And I don't know, the whole thing is like a mountain.
And we're positive it's Italian?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if that was a certain or not. I mean, I don't know, but
Sounds Italian.
It sounds Italian. That's all I'm saying.
Seems more Italian than Spanish or Portuguese to me.
Yep.
Scalinata. Trinita.
And it is, the Spanish Steps do lead up to a church that's at the very top, if that helps any.
I like the Spanish. I like that.
All right, that's what we're saying. Spanish Steps.
Spanish Steps. So the Trinita dei Monti refers to the Church of the Santissima Trinita dei Monti, which is exactly right. And Scalinata is the Italian word for staircase. And this would be the Spanish Steps, exactly right. That is
nice.
Good job, Angie.
The Spanish Steps connect the Piazza di Spagna with the that church. And that is, I think it's something to do with, like, Church of the Three, the name of a church type, I was trying to look it up, and I think it's just like, mountain god, Trinity, something along those lines, like very church name type. But yeah, Scalinata is the key word there, meaning, a flight of stairs. Exactly right. And
Turning it around.
there you go. Exactly. But number 5 ending this round was, one sunny autumn afternoon, a child strayed away from its rude home in a small field and entered a forest unobserved, is the first line of what short story?
I know. That is the first sentence of Chickamauga by Ambrose Bierce.
That seems like a very confident answer. And that is exactly right. That is what short story is. A very happy short story in all aspects. But no, exactly right. So Chickamauga was obviously set in this state. Do you know where Owl Creek Bridge is set? What state it's in? Fun fact.
It's in Tennessee.
Alabama is what I saw online. Oh, yeah.
No, it is Alabama. So here's a fun fact back at you. So the famous Owl Creek Bridge short film that aired as an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Right.
the same filmmaker also made a short film of Chickamauga, and it is awful. So bad.
I don't. Yeah.
I actually managed to snag it through interlibrary loan with an actual, reel of film that I had to find a film projector on campus in order to be able to play it, to see it, and it sucked.
That's good to know. Have you ever seen the movie Old Gringo?
Mm-mm.
I saw that movie, and that's that's because it is Ambrose Bierce basically. I forget if he's named that in the no, it's based on the book, and the book doesn't say his name, but it's the Ambrose Bierce type. That's exactly right. Chickamauga by Ambrose Bierce, very well done. And so moving past sciences, and doesn't look like much. Yeah, I think you've gotten out of the science neck of the woods, so it's all in the non-science fields from the rest of the game here. But you have a very strong I'd say 4 out of 5 right there, 3 right, and then 2 halves. According to my grading there. We'll make it. Angie is scowling at. I have 4. I'll make it 3.5. You know what? There we go. Y'all get in with 3.5 there. Had to walk you through 60 too much. So there we go.
I was scowling too, Mom. That's not just you.
I'm joking. I was just trying to be a benevolent score giver on this thing that has no, where the points don't matter. As
That's right.
But no, let's see. All right, now we turn to the second half of round 1 and see what you got for me. All right.
Who's starting, guys? Who's starting?
What's our order? Age? Alphabetical? I forget.
You can go alphabetical again.
That's what we did? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Alphabetical.
We'll go reverse alphabetical this time.
Oh,
Okay,
Okay.
that's me.
So Timothy
Okay.
first.
Where did I put that? There it is. Question number 1. Henry VIII, surprise, surprise, was King of England from 1509 to 1547. During this time, he was famously served by 4 men, all named Thomas. Name 3 of the 4.
Oh, that's right. We go through them all, don't we? Okay. On today's date in 1973, this album reached #1 on the U.S. Billboard Top 200 chart and holds the record for the most weeks all time on that chart.
Me. Over the course of his career, this Hungarian mathematician published more than 1,500 papers with more than 500 collaborators. In the 1960s, in tribute to this prolific output, his fellow mathematicians began calculating their degrees of separation from having collaborated with him. Who is this Kevin Bacon of mathematics?
Question 4. The green stripes on this country's flag represent its wealth and lush vegetation. The white stripe indicates the country's desire for peace and harmony. The flag was designed by a 23-year-old student and was first used in 1960. Name this country.
And number 5. A prominent 93-kilometer diameter crater on the far side of the moon is named for what man from Greek mythology who both built and escaped from the labyrinth for King Minos of Crete?
All right, so those are the questions in round 1. And so if you take a moment to pause right here, if you get a little bit more time, we'll start back at the top with number 1.
Number 1, Henry VIII was King of England from 1509 to 1547. During this time, he was famously served by 4 men, all named Thomas. Name 3 of the 4.
Fun fact, there's a book that covers all of this very specifically, and I bet if I ever read it, this would be an easier question. Yeah, there's definitely a book. And apparently a lot of people are reading Wolf Hall over their quarantine break. And now, and I know that it's comical that there's a bunch of Thomases that help out in the book, which is, so I'm trying to say, so the 3 I'm going to go with, so there is my first one, I'll just say all three. The first one is Thomas More, who was the author of Utopia and would be murked by Henry VIII. There is Thomas Cromwell, who is of the Cromwell clan, not the defender, but Thomas Cromwell. And the third last name that I have is one I'm least confident on, but Putnam is a surname of a guy from something. I don't have anything more, but I think Thomas Putnam is definitely a guy, and I'm going to guess More, Cromwell, and Putnam as my guess here.
You got any other Thomases? You've got More correct, and you've got Cromwell correct.
Okay.
Any other Thomases somewhere deep in? I'll give you a hint. They were both churchmen. One at the beginning of his reign and the other at the end of his reign.
Oh, Becket was
No, Henry.
400 years earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I was trying to Thomas. I'm just trying to think. It's just only from actual history knowledge and not critically acclaimed book that's going to help me out here. So it's like coming up with who these Thomases are. I don't know if I have anything else.
So his first Thomas is Wolsey, Cardinal Wolsey, and the last Thomas was Cranmer, who was Archbishop.
Yeah, Cranmer's a name I've definitely have seen that. I didn't.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, given the scoring scale that was established during our round, he actually got that completely correct.
No, I'm taking for sure half on that. That is Thomas Putnam. Is a member. He was involved in the Crucible. He's a Salem witch trials historical figure, and is one of the. He's the one that apparently takes Giles Corey to court in the Crucible.
Is he Ann Putnam's father?
He's in that family, married to Anne. Their daughter is Ruth, but Anne and Thomas Putnam are married in the Crucible. So
in the real life story, the first little girl who started showing signs of demonic possession was named Ann Putnam.
Yes, well, I think it is right. And so
Okay.
okay, so that's right. So sorry, there's two actually Anns here. And that person is Ann Jr. and is named after her mother, Ann. So Thomas Putnam was married to Ann, and their child, Ann Jr., was that figure. So I had a Thomas, historical Thomas Putnam of the mid second millennium, but it was not English. They were American. They were New English. But all right, I'll take that. So going on to number 2.
All right. On today's date in 1973, this album reached #1 on the U.S. Billboard Top 200 chart and holds the record for the most weeks all time on that chart.
I did not know 1973, but I think I do have heard this fact about the longest Billboard charting album in 1973 would be Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, and that would be my guess.
You are correct, sir, and I've indicated that with my background.
Very good. Very, very good.
There's the earth.
Good job. Good job.
Good job. Okay, question number 3. Over the course of his career, this Hungarian mathematician published more than 1,500 papers with more than 500 collaborators. In the 1960s, in tribute to this prolific output, his fellow mathematicians began calculating their degrees of separation from having collaborated with him. Who is this Kevin Bacon of mathematics?
I was a math major at one point in my life, all very excitingly. And I cannot stress enough how I never even got close to ever publishing anything. I think that department was like, this kid has no potential in becoming an actual math academic. They did not even possibly invite me to be among those echelons. But there was a faculty member in the department that had a picture in his office that was him as a child, like in a stroller, being pushed by the answer to this question, which is wild enough. And this mathematician is Paul Erdos, is the Hungarian in question here.
That is correct. Now, I read an entire biography of him years ago so that I could write this question one day.
That's great.
The book was called "The Man Who Loved Only Numbers" was the name of the book, and it was fabulous. And yeah, I mean, what's so amazing, or one of the many things that's amazing about this guy, is that he was basically homeless, and he just traveled from campus to campus to collaborate with different people. It's
Wow.
like, oh, I'm done with that paper. You know, what university am I going to wander off to next to work at?
He was actually good. It wasn't like, he was an actual great mathematician that was doing his thing. Have you ever heard of the Hank Aaron connection with him?
No.
Okay, so as you mentioned, that Paul Erdos is the Kevin Bacon of mathematics in terms of network. So there's also something called the Erdos-Bacon number, which is it's basically the sum of your Bacon number and your Erdos number, which is a very specific thing to do. One easy connection now is Natalie Portman, who is a full-time, actress, but also she has her name on a couple of papers. As she's actually, a pretty serious academic too, where working, at Harvard and things like that. A funny story about Hank Aaron is that his Erdos number is 3, which is very small, which is incredibly small, because the sum of those two numbers. One is because Hank Aaron was in some movie. I forget the connection there. He was in some movie, and the person in that movie also was in a movie with Kevin Bacon. So their number is there. It's 2. And the other side of the story is that it was at an Emory graduation ceremony. Hank Aaron, Atlanta native Hank Aaron was at, but also Paul Erdos spoke at the graduation, and it said that they both signed a baseball at the Emory graduation. So both Paul Erdos and Hank Aaron's signature are on the same collaborative baseball, which means Hank Aaron's number is 1, because they both work together on the same thing. So it's Hank Aaron supposedly has the all-time one of the smallest numbers possible by having 3, because of that fun. They both signed a baseball, which is a very I like to think it's all true. There might be a slight apocrypha to it, but I really enjoy that story as a possible answer. But yeah, so that is a good Hank Aaron fact in there about all that. So now you know. That's exciting. So that was
All right, question number 4. The green stripes on this country's flag represent its wealth and lush vegetation. The white stripe indicates the country's desire for peace and harmony. The flag was designed by a 23-year-old student and was first used in 1960. Name this country.
I don't know this fact about the person that designed it. That's very good. The only flag I know that's designed by a young person was the Alaska state flag. It was designed by, it was like some kindergarten, like some grade school contest, and apparently that one won. And so based on solely the description of the flag of what stripes stand for, colors on flags mean things apparently. That is something they always say. And you describe it as having green stripes, plural, correct, is what you said?
Correct.
Okay. And then white stripe. And so the only guess I have here is the flag that is green, white, green. And so my guess here is going to be Nigeria.
And that would be a correct guess.
That was good. And so designed by a 23-year-old. That's straightforward. That's sorry, my computer also takes phone calls, and so I will text people at home, let them know I'm okay. But no. So yeah, that's good. It's a good design. It's well done to that person for designing it. I mean, it works. There's no doubt about it. It's yeah. Good on him for good a good tricolor. You can't hurt it. That's very well done. And that's eternalism right there, is to get a flag design. Very well done to him, but I'll take it. All right. So number 5.
All right. Number 5. A prominent 93-kilometer diameter crater on the far side of the moon, and we did not collaborate on our far side of the moon references, is named for what man from Greek mythology who both built and escaped from the labyrinth for King Minos of Crete?
So the designer of the Greek labyrinth is the father of the famed father-son pair, and this is Daedalus, who was the Greek architect and whose son Icarus he had too much of his sea legs in him, and but I will say Daedalus is this Greek labyrinth designer.
That is correct.
So is it just a large? That's your 2 dark side of the moon questions. So is it just a large crater on the other side? And that is
yeah, it's the biggest, and there's actually an Icarus crater nearby, but Daedalus is the biggest crater on the far side, I believe, the biggest one.
the hubris of Greek men. What a bummer that is. So on all that, I think I had the other 2 through 5 cold, and then not knowing Wolf Hall. I think there's a critically acclaimed miniseries based on the book that I bet's probably good. I mean,
and a play.
And okay,
Yeah.
Are you saying the series of Wolf Hall?
Yes.
Awesome. It's great.
Yes, it is.
I have a collection of I, Claudia somewhere over there in DVDs. I don't have a DVD player in my current place. I need to buy one so I can watch DVDs. So yeah, there's the problem of watching a DVD is I have the DVDs but not a DVD player. So that's how it
You have
goes.
a Blu-ray player, right?
No, neither that. I don't have that either. I just have a TV with like a Fire Stick. So I cannot watch physical media right now. I can only stream things. So yeah, I need to get a Blu-ray. But right now, I think I will have 4.5 as we go back to y'all on this round number 2. So here we go. Very best of luck. In our round number 2 here, number 1 is, what is the 3rd track on the 1959 album Time Out? A song whose title has a similar meaning to the phrase time out. Number 2, what is the Hebrew word for booths? Booths, booths. Number 3, it's a 2-part question. Number 3 is, what 1955 film starring Sidney Poitier is set at North Manual Trades High School? And what 1967 film starring Sidney Poitier is set at North Quay Secondary School? Number 4, Santa's a Fat Bitch is a 1997 song and the only Billboard Top 100 hit for what group? And number 5, what building stands in a Sahara of snow now in the first line of Robert Lowell's poem For the Union Dead? This building was demolished in 1954 and a savage servility slides by on Greece, which is a closing line of the poem. Those are the 5 questions in round 2. Take a pause a little more time. We'll start back up at the top with number 1 is, what is the 3rd track on the 1959 album Time Out? A song whose title has a similar meaning to the phrase time out.
Wow.
Okay, 1959.
Take 5.
Take 5.
Is
So
that
that's my only instinct about this is that this is jazz we're talking about, and so take 5 would fit that perfectly.
yeah? I just don't have a year. I'm bad with years on all decades of jazz.
Yeah, but that seems about right for
Okay.
Anybody? Anything else? Anything else? All right, we're gonna say timeout.
All
I
right.
mean, take 5. Take 5.
Let's take 5.
Five is your guest here. So is the third track. The first track on this album is Blue Rondo a la Turk, which is based on the composer going to the country of Turkey and listening to their music, also riffing on the Mozart piece of a similar name. But Time Out is a seminal album by the Dave Brubeck Quartet, and Take 5 is the best known track from the album. Very well done. A
Stand, Kevin.
Thank you.
good jazz knowledge on that. Moving on to number 2 is, what is the Hebrew word for booths?
There's got to be a reason why this question is interesting.
And I'm pretty sure that I am, y'all are all Gentile people. I do not believe that, I don't want to presume on anything, but I do believe y'all definitely lean more Gentile than not. So yeah, that's,
I actually visited Israel 19 years, 11 months ago.
very
Like,
good.
I'm coming up on the 20-year anniversary of that trip. And like, I could tell you, like, a kibbutz is like a sort of a little village type place. There's several words that I picked up on the trip, but I don't know that we ever learned booths.
But I'm assuming that this is a word that we actually know, and when we are told that's the Hebrew word for booths, they'll be like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense."
Like something like stable or.
So there was in the Gospels, it talks about the Festival of Booths. I don't remember which gospel, or if it's in all 4, but I can't. So the idea behind it being that what a particular holiday, people would leave their houses and set up these booths as if they were reenacting living, if I've got this right, living in Exodus, or living at a time when they were in exile. And so I'm trying to.
Could it be kiosk?
Exactly what I was about to say.
I like that word.
Right. I've been from Timothy's description of people setting up kiosks, was popped into my head.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
All right. You say kiosk.
Going with kiosk here. Unfortunately, it is not kiosk. Looking it up here, apparently it comes from a Persian/Turkish word meaning like palace or pavilion is what kiosk means. Didn't know that. That's cool thing. I will say that the Festival of Booths is a very good line of thought in order to get this correct answer. In fact, the Festival of Booths is known by one word name. That is the correct answer to this question.
Yeah, see, the only thing that's sticking in my head is Purim, and that was a festival. It's the only time of the calendar that Jews are actually ordered to go ahead and get drunk. But I don't recall booths being involved. So you got Yom Kippur in what other Jewish holidays do we have other than Passover and Yom Kippur?
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah, right?
Didn't you say one word, Chris?
Yeah. Well, I think Purim is one word, but yeah, it's been a long time since I studied any of that.
Hmm.
And I don't know how you. Am I muted? Okay. I don't know how you say it, but Sukkot, like Sukkot, is another one-word Jewish holiday. It's like a harvest or something, I think.
And that may actually be what the booths were part of, was that.
Harvest, yeah.
That's
I like
all I
it.
know about that.
But say it again. Sukkot?
Sakat. Yeah, I've only ever seen it written. So
Anybody got another idea? Let's go with Sakat.
I'm sticking with kiosk.
Doubling down. That's very bold. A very bold strategy in a trivia game. Knowing a wrong answer and doubling down on it. Aaron saying Sakat.
He does the same thing during poker, so it's okay.
There you go. Sakat is the holiday. It is the festival of booths, and it is
Aaron.
You described it very well. They just like the idea of building a shelter to protect yourself and all that. But I don't know much about the festival. Purim is the festival of lots. Lots is what it is. The festival of. But exactly right. That is you're building booths or tabernacles. There's a couple of words all mean the same thing, but the Hebrew word for booths is Sakat, and is one of the holidays on the Jewish calendar. Very well done.
Good job.
Number 3 is what 1955 film starring Sidney Poitier is set at North Manual Trades High School, and what 1967 film starring Sidney Poitier is set at North Quay Secondary School.
So is one of these Mr. Tibbs?
I think it's the second one.
Okay.
I think he's a teacher in the second one. And then the first one is probably, I'm racking my brain for some juvenile delinquent movie that he was in the mid-50s. This is exactly the right time period for, Blackboard Jungle and stuff like that. And, lacking a better answer, Blackboard Jungle is certainly the most famous one of these, but there are lots of them.
Aaron, you got this?
I can help on one more, but this is not it.
And was it Mr. Tibbs? Is that the name of the movie? Or the famous line is "They call me Mr. Tibbs," but that's not
In the heat of the night.
It's either the name. I think it's either the name of the movie or it's part of the name of the movie. I'm not really sure which.
In the Heat of the Night is 60s. What were the dates again? 55 and
66.
67.
67, sorry.
It was 55 and 67.
Okay.
In the Heat of the Night would fit 67.
Wasn't he a cop in that?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that it's the thing with Mr. Tibbs, whatever it's called. Is that what we got? Blackboard Jungle and Mr. Tibbs?
Sure.
All right, that's what we're going with.
There's your guesses here. So the first 1955 is a North Manual Trades High School. This was Sidney Poitier's breakout role, where he did play a high school student here, set at this school. And the movie you're describing is right. It is Blackboard Jungle. That is the film in question here. So 1967, the second film here, Sidney Poitier. In the Heat of the Night, a Best Picture winner. Sidney Poitier does play Virgil Tibbs, who that is all correct, but he is a detective, and it is not that movie. This is not In the Heat of the Night. And he was in a sequel called They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. That was the sequel to In the Heat of the Night, but it is also not that film. This is a different film.
Is this film also set in? You can't give me hints. Sorry. I vaguely remember a film with he is a teacher, and I think there is a quasi love story with a white teacher. Oh wait, 7?
57.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's coming to dinner?
Yeah, it's him. Yeah,
So what? Guess who's coming to dinner?
Yeah, I think Guess Who's Coming to Dinner might be it. Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn, him.
Were they teachers in that?
No, he's a physician. But there's another movie where he is a classroom teacher. And that's what we're looking for here, right?
Yeah.
So I know absolutely nothing. I don't even know who Sidney Poitier is. All I know, yeah, I know. Or all I know is that there is some movie around this time frame where there is a love story of a teacher with a student who plots his death, and it's called Diabolique. That's all I know. So probably not remotely useful, but I know that's a plot of a movie in this general time frame.
So no, guess who's coming to dinner? He is a physician. I've forgotten what she does, but they met on an airplane, and it all goes complicated after that.
That sounds wrong.
That's right. It is wrong. So that's why I'm backpedaling now.
So, Aaron, so one of the salient facts about Sidney Poitier in a lot of these movies is that he's black.
I've told you literally everything I know about this movie.
All right.
There's a student plotting the death of a romantically involved teacher around this general time frame. That's all I got.
So it's a French movie?
As a French title.
I'm guessing that Sidney Poitier could have been in a French movie.
Sure. It's a guess.
Are we spent, team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm spent.
All right.
All right, so kind of go over what y'all been talking about. So yeah, this is a French movie, and that it does seem to be a 1955 French film that is. You are describing a movie here that is all very true. It is not. This has nothing to do with Sidney Poitier, though, unfortunately. But teacher is right. That is a plot point of it. So this 1967 was a banner year for Sidney Poitier's movies. He was nominated for an Oscar for previous films. But in 67, he was in 3 different films. He was in the Heat of the Night, Best Picture. He was in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, a absolute famous movie. And it was in the 3rd movie. And this is the 3rd movie here where he does play a teacher at a British secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the actresses in the movie played one of the students, and the actress's name goes by the mononym Lulu, where she also sang the title song of the movie.
Not no.
And so, yeah, I think this is going to stump you on this. So the name of this movie is To Sir With Love is the name of the movie. Yeah. And he is in he's in a Jaime Escalante Stand and Deliver type scenario of a ragtag group of students. And unlike calculus and Stand and Deliver, he kind of teaches them like very life skill type things, and they stop being delinquents and become more of a unified classroom there. But To Sir With Love is the other film in question here.
Was that a YA novel?
It is based on a novel. Let me see. Trying to see who. E.R. Braithwaite is apparently the autobiographical novel is who wrote that. So, but no, yep. To Sir With Love and Blackboard Jungle. I thought To Sir With Love would be the easier one of the two, but y'all got the other one right. So there you go. Very well done. But moving to number 4, moving from Sidney Poitier completely, is Santa's a Fat Bitch is a 1997 song and the only Billboard Top 100 hit for what group?
1997.
I thought I had a pretty good handle on 90s music. I thought I was like all on top of it, but I believe ever since Barbie Girl, the last time we were on, Chris has been plotting to embarrass me with something. extremely difficult.
So, is this a hip hop group? Is this like NWA or somebody?
They say only top 100 song.
That's right.
The only top 100 Billboard.
That wouldn't be true for them, would it?
No, it would definitely not be true for them.
Yeah.
You think NWA? You think made a practice of cracking the Billboard Top 100 Singles chart, the mainstream chart?
By the 90s, yeah.
I'm skeptical.
All right.
What year is? I'm just trying to. Am I even in the right time frame? So, what year is Straight Outta Compton?
91, 90 or 91, I think.
Okay, so this is substantially later. I mean, if it's not somebody like that, if it's not a hip hop group, yeah, that's all I got.
I'm trying to think of 90s one-hit wonders, which is essentially what we're talking about. If they're only hitting the top 100.
But I'm thinking from the way the question is written, that they're actually a group of some repute, and it's kind of hilarious that this is the only time they were in the top 100.
Okay.
Which is why I was going for NWA or someone like them.
Go for it, David.
Okay, hearing no other wrong answers being suggested, I will say NWA.
Going for NWA here. It is not NWA. So NWA only has one Billboard Top 100 hit. 1988 Straight Outta Compton was a number 38 hit. They have other songs, but their other highest chart, they don't even charted. Their song about the police force was a number 25 on the R&B chart. It did not make the Hot 100 list.
Okay.
And that was from the same album. But yes, this is not NWA, unfortunately. So I will say that according to Wikipedia, this hip hop group is the correct description of this group. That is like the genre classified for this group. And this group is probably known for its fan base more than
it's got to be Insane Clown Posse.
And that is the right answer, is the Insane Clown Posse. That is exactly right. Famed for their annual, the Meeting of the Juggalos, which is what the annual event where this group performs.
Been canceled due to observance of the social distancing.
Exactly. I was actually inspired by the recent news involving all that. I was like looking at their hits. Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope are the two main members of Insane Clown Posse. I kind of looked up what has charted for them, and only the song "Santa's a Fat Bitch." I don't know much about the music of the group. I do know famously they asked a question about a song where "Magnets" is a line of one of the songs, but I don't know which one it is. I don't know if this is like their Freebird, for example. Like, I don't know if this is like the big song that closes the festivals, like it is their biggest hit, by sales numbers, but I don't know if, it's their crowning song. Like I know what
they like, and I know about their fan base. Like you said, that's it.
Exactly. But yeah, that is, you did pick a group with only one other thing. Let's see. So I'm just going to go down to names of other songs that are here. Chicken Hunting, Halls of Illusions, Hocus Pocus, Another Love Song, Let's Go All the Way, Miracles, apparently. These are all names of songs. I don't know. These all seem kind of made up, honestly, even looking at them still. Mad Professor was I guess 18 on the bubbling under, so it was a number 118. Yeah. But yeah, these are all apparently songs by Insane Clown Posse, and now you know a name of the song. So yeah, that would probably stop most people name a song by Insane Clown Posse, and so now you know that Santa's a Fat Bitch, which I guess is on their Christmas album. That yeah, even the song doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, which is even weirder. Is there only one? Oh, let's see. I want to see if it's a Christmas song. Oh, it's from A Carnival Christmas, which was a EP by the group. I didn't even have this listed down. And so, yeah, their Christmas EP.
You achieve fame. Eventually, you do a Christmas album. It's just obligatory.
And it was their biggest hit. And it was their biggest hit. We can't even underestimate that. So there you go. All right. So the Insane Clown Posse. Now you know. Number 5 is what building stands in a Sahara of snow now in the first line of Robert Lowell's poem For the Union Dead. This building was demolished in 1954 and a savage servility slides by on Greece.
I got this one.
Yes, Aaron.
So I might know what the cardinal direction, but I think it's South Boston Aquarium. It could be like north, or I'm not sure on the direction, but it's a direction Boston Aquarium.
Why?
I studied it.
Okay.
So when I suggested this category, I was just trusting Chris not to ask questions about poetry. So
It's on one of my cards.
Poetry. That doesn't exist. There's no Civil War poetry as a subject. Yeah.
So, or at least have the decency to ask about Herman Melville or something. Aaron's answer sounds great to me. What cardinal direction is in your heart, Aaron?
South.
Okay.
Or it could just be, wait, hang on.
Don't overthink it.
Aquarium is a current building, right? Yeah, I've been there. It is. It could just be that earlier in the same, I don't know the line by heart, but the earlier in the line, the word south is mentioned. It might just be Boston Aquarium.
We could take the time-honored tradition of saying Boston Aquarium and seeing if we were asked to be more specific.
All right.
All right, we can do that. We'll start with Boston Aquarium then.
Going there's Boston Aquarium.
Yes.
The old South Boston Aquarium stands in a Sahara of snow now. Its broken windows are boarded. The bronze weather-vane cod has lost half its scales. The airy tanks are dry. And it is the South Boston Aquarium is exactly right. That is
Good job.
There's famously 2 poems about the different sides of the war. There is the Ode to the Confederate Dead, which is by racist Alan Tate, who is the poet of the other side. And then For the Union Dead is a early 20th century poem by Robert Lowell, and it's about Robert Lowell looking at the Boston Common, and it's the idea that they're building it's kind of like about the fragility of the current state, and they're building like some kind of memorial to like the Civil War, and near the Boston Common, like some kind of memorial there. But it's about that side of the war. But it is the South Boston Aquarium, and it's just that building no longer exists. The Boston Aquarium we know as the big Boston Aquarium is not near the Boston Common. It is lines the other way. But exactly right. That is exactly the building there. A non-war building, and you don't know the poem, and not a very confident answer of South Boston Aquarium as the answer to this question. But is exactly right. Very well done. Good knowledge on that. And so on all that, I think 3.5 for that. Starting out with take 5, ending with the South Boston Aquarium. So that is all very well done. So yes, good job, Aaron, smoking your dad on some Civil War poetry there. That is exactly right.
So the ultimate insult is going to be in round 3 when Timothy is the one who knows the answer.
There you go.
That would be the ultimate insult. All right, we ready?
Let's do it.
It's all good.
It's supposed to be hard.
This former kingdom, now an autonomous community and province of Spain, whose capital is Pamplona, has a flag that is entirely red, and at the center, a pearl-encrusted crown sitting atop a shield. What is this former European country?
Kevin.
All right. I've changed backgrounds to get in the mood for this question.
There you go.
After appearing in 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation and 1 episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, this actor played another role in the feature film Star Trek First Contact, becoming the first and still the only actor in the entire history of the franchise to ever say the actual phrase Star Trek.
All right. The first known use of the phrase hard-boiled in reference to eggs was in 1589. One of the earliest known uses of hard-boiled to mean tough and unsentimental came in an 1886 speech that would later be published under the title General Grant's Grammar. In this speech, an American writer came to the defense of his friend Ulysses S. Grant, whose recently published memoirs had been savaged in a review by Matthew Arnold. Question is, who was this writer who stood up for his friend and defended him against Matthew Arnold?
Number 4. First used in 2013 by venture capitalist Aileen Lee, this term in the tech world refers to a privately held startup that is valued at over $1 billion, a designation that only 0.07% of startups ever achieve. Some examples include Airbnb, Uber, and SpaceX. Human resources folks also use this same term to describe when an employer writes a job description with unmeetable standards.
All right, and number 5. Named for an American economist, what is the term for a good that contradicts the law of demand, meaning that demand increases as price increases, due to the good's exclusive nature and appeal as a status symbol?
All right, so those are the 5 questions in round 2. Take a pause if you want one more time. We'll start back at number 1. So,
Number 1. This former kingdom, now an autonomous community and province of Spain, whose capital is Pamplona, had a flag that is entirely red, and at the center, a pearl-encrusted crown sitting atop a shield. What is this former European country?
all right. Can you say the capital of this?
Pamplona.
Pamplona, yes. I was making sure it was with a P. I was making sure it was with the P, where bulls are run.
Yes.
So this is subunits of the larger countries, which is more dicey knowledge for me. So it's really my Spanish geography knowledge here, and I think, yeah, every kingdom was every kingdom was a country. That's how it was. Yeah, the Olympics would be crazy back in the day because you'd have all kinds of weird nonsense for all the countries. I think Pamplona would be the capital of Navarre, however you say it. Navare. That's my guess.
You are correct, sir.
That is
Good job.
that is knowing about Pamplona. That is the only real connection I had there. I did not know what Navarre's flag looked like. I know a few. I know what the Basque flag looks like.
Sure.
And I think I know the Catalonia flag. I know those are more prominent in things.
Right.
Like the Navarrite, Navarresque is.
Neverese?
No, I will take that.
Good job.
I'm excited. All right, number 2.
So, after appearing in 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation and 1 episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, this actor played another role in the feature film Star Trek First Contact, becoming the first and still the only actor in the history of the franchise to actually say the phrase Star Trek.
What a very interesting question on this. So I'm gonna let y'all know that I have never seen an installment of the Star Trek franchise.
Oh, okay.
I have seen no episode of any show, and I have seen maybe a few minutes of one movie. Like, that is where we're coming from here. I want to let y'all know that. I have seen the Futurama episode then with all of the cast of the original show at least, a couple dozen times, but I've never seen any actual episode of Star Trek. And so here I am going to have to guess a person. And I have a name. This person I know is in one of the movies. I was trying to think of the timeline. I know Deep Space Nine comes after TNG. I know that. I don't know the movies. Like, I know, like, some of the movies are the original crew. Most of the other movies are with the TNG crowd. I don't know how many of the movies follow the crews of Enterprises after Next Generation. And so I know this person's in a Star Trek movie, and it's going to be my guess here. I'm going to say he was like, I think First Contact. I don't know if this is the one involving time travel or not. I know that's one of the plots of one of the movies. I'm going to say James Cromwell as my guess to this question.
That'll do, Chris.
Oh, yes, that is what I'm talking about. Farmer Hoggett knowledge all the way. That is extremely exciting.
You did well there. If you have not seen any of the shows or the movies, that's really good pulling out.
I know that I do like time travel. I'm a big time travel enthusiast. That is a fun thing. And I know that one of them involves that. And I know James Cromwell, who is best known as exactly the answer I wanted you to give when I had that. I was like, I know he's in one of these movies, and he's obviously not one of the actors on any of the shows. I knew he was in that movie.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they gave, the actual phrase Star Trek to a none of the main cast of any of the shows.
I mean, that's insane. What a honor to be given, like, the keys to the keys to the car like that.
Moment, because like you're right, it's about time travel. They get sent into the past where the Borg are trying to destroy humanity, and as soon as they tell, he plays a guy named Zephram Cochrane who invents warp drive, and as soon as they tell him who they are, he's like, "So you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek?" And then in theaters, when I first saw it, everyone's like, "Oh, he said the name! He said the name!"
That is fantastic, and it's never been, I guess, never said, and yeah, that's extremely good. I now need to see this movie in honor of when the line is said. That's so good. I thought you were going to say a "Beam Me Up, Scotty," famously not said in the, like, that's a known fact. It's like, it's never said that exact phrase. I thought it might have been the actual phrase Star Trek, and that is woo.
Another famous Star Trek trivia question is usually, what's the grammatical change between the opening monologue in the original series and then the transition to Next Generation?
I was about to say, well, there's a split infinitive famously in the opening, "to boldly go."
Split infinitive. So I guess I shouldn't say grammatical. I guess it's just a one-word change.
I don't know what this is then. I know some of the words in the opening, but I don't know.
Where no man has gone before to no one has gone before. From the original series to the Next Generation, they say where no one has gone before.
That's good. I didn't know that. But yeah, I have. I think I even asked a round of Star Trek trivia at Bulldog, but that was, again, kind of just my peripheral knowledge of the show. I've actually never sat down and watched any of it. Maybe I should be watching that next. I'm doing 30 Rock right now, so maybe a series of Star Trek may be in order to, finally sit down and watch it. So
Binge the whole franchise. You really should go all the way back to the 60s through now.
that's a good place to start. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I've heard very good things about it, but I just haven't sat down and done it yet. So James Cromwell knowledge for the win. That is what I'm talking about. That is hilarious. Thank you. Ooh.
I vividly remember the round of Star Trek trivia at Bulldog because it consisted of all of us just sitting there staring at Kevin, saying, Kevin, come Kevin.
I think I had a very good round. It was just I sadly don't, I know a lot about it, but I never actually have watched it, and so I'm able to sneak by. So I'm glad. I mean, a great question nonetheless. I'm secretly glad that how much I know was able to eclipse the circle of the question. So yeah, I will take it. And that'll do, Chris, is exactly what I want to hear. I have seen a 3-digit number of times. I'm not even joking about that. So.
All right, so here's question 3.
Right.
So hard-boiled eggs in 1589. Almost 300 years later, it means something very different. In a speech titled General Grant's Grammar. In this speech, an American writer was coming to the defense of his friend U.S. Grant, whose recently published memoirs had been savaged in a review by Matthew Arnold. The question is, who was this writer who stood up for his friend?
Yeah, the sea is calm tonight is Dover Beach. The answer I have here is, and I'm gonna say I want to say that the answer is Mark Twain, because he definitely is that time period, late 19th century, and I know Mark Twain wrote or helped write a memoir or a biography, something along those lines, of a very famous 19th century person, and it might just be Grant. I didn't know they were friends. But I knew that he wrote some nonfiction work involving somebody, and obviously he wrote a number of papers and essays and speeches that he liked to give. He was always complaining about spelling and nonsense like that. So I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess Mark Twain is my guess here.
So Mark Twain is correct. He and Grant were good friends. Grant's memoirs are great, and it was rumored at the time and down through the years that Twain actually ghost wrote them, which he did not. They were written by Grant, but Grant was ill. He was dying of cancer. He desperately needed money. He wrote his memoirs, and Twain was instrumental in helping him with the publication arrangements.
Gotcha. Did they meet post-war?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know where they. Yeah, I was thinking. I didn't know. I knew Twain was somewhat involved with a historical, but I didn't know they were friends, and that's yeah.
Twain was out. I mean, Twain wrote a famous story called "The Private History of a Campaign That Failed," which ostensibly was sort of an explanation of why he decided to hightail it out west rather than participate in the war in any meaningful way. And so, yeah, he did not have any contact with Grant until they were both really famous.
Speaking of being poor after the presidency, do y'all know about when that was changed in the 20th century? This is a cool sidebar of American history. Is after Truman served as president, he was not a man of wealth when he became president. He famously was not a college graduate. He basically worked as a politician for most of his time before he became president. And after he was president, he had really nothing to go back on. And I think he got some small deal for a book, but that didn't really pan out. And so he kind of helped ask, like, hey, can we do something? And kind of like Eisenhower and that kind of crew helped arrange, they passed a law in Congress where it gives like a stipend or some kind of like financial backing to former presidents. And it's basically a way so that if you were president, your country doesn't just hurt you after you become the top person of it, you know, so that way you can live a somewhat good life. And you had like all of the previous presidents signed on to it. And Herbert Hoover was still alive. He lived a very long time after his presidency. He was a man of actual personal. He actually had a lot of wealth, and he agreed to this thing so that, you know, basically Truman could receive money to live on, which is all kind of crazy. But now there is, I mean, now I think since, you know, LBJ, really every leader since then has done, they've done well on their own, you know, but there is like a way to, like, you know, just the idea that you don't become destitute after becoming, you know, the country's elected top person. You don't want to like treat your previous presidents, you know, like they're, you know, living off of that. So yeah, I guess it was this was all way before that, obviously. But yeah, it's weird that some people did not, you know, you were president, but you did not have money after you were president, which is, you know,
a problem.
yeah, and it's a very strange and odd thing. But Mark Twain, always a good guy. So there you go. Also, his board game was hard, but that's a different.
All right, number 4. First used in 2013 by venture capitalist Aileen Lee, this term in the tech world refers to a privately held startup that is valued at over $1 billion, a designation only 0.07% of startups ever achieve. Some examples include Airbnb, Uber, and SpaceX. Human resources folks also use this same term to describe when an employer writes a job description with unmeetable standards.
Got you. And I think this is unicorn is the answer to this question.
That would be correct.
There we go. Yeah. I didn't know of any. I knew unicorn company was like a tech word. I didn't know what companies Uber. Is it Uber and Airbnb were the two of them you said? Yeah. And but no, that is really cool. Unicorn companies. I did not know the HR type word there, or like the hiring thing there. That's a good. Makes sense because there's a lot of memes out there saying that young people can't get hired for anything because all like jobs, like applications, they're like basically you have to have 5 years experience for any like entry level stuff, and it's all kind of wild hiring practices where it's like this isn't good. And so yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. Unicorns are hard to catch, but
Exactly. All right, Aaron.
All right, number 5. Named for an American economist, what is the term for a good that contradicts the law of demand, meaning that demand increases as price increases, due to the good's exclusive nature and appeal as a status symbol?
all right, so this is an actual honest to God econ question, and yeah, this is something so you said that as demand goes up, price goes up. Okay, yeah. So
This applies to toilet paper, right? This is how we have this shortage.
It's different, actually. This is specifically a good, such as a very rare painting.
I'm just kidding.
No, but that's a very similar type of good. Which is why it's prefacing. Yeah.
that's good about a painting. I got that. That's
Yeah.
synthesize it. So looking for the economist that names this. Well, can you repeat the first part again so I get the
Yeah, he's named for an American economist. That's all I give you about the economist, but I can give you more.
No, yeah, I want to.
Okay. Sure.
I gotta name an American economist. A lot of them are. I want to think. I want to say an American economist. I'm gonna name an American economist. I want to think who are the good choices here. I'm gonna guess. Arrow is my guess.
It's incorrect. The one clue I can give you that might help, might not, is his most famous work is The Theory of the Leisure Class.
So, theory of the leisure class is Veblen.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a Veblen good, and much in line with Theory of the Leisure Class and those elite goods, he names the Veblen goods.
I'm better at a few books. I know like some of those details, but yeah, some of the
Gotcha.
is Veblen. So yeah, a rare painting is. I mean that makes sense. I was trying to think like toilet paper is very good, but a different
Yeah.
Right there. All right. So actual economics knowledge, which is never taken an econ class. I had to learn for like a quiz bowl type thing. So it's okay. Anything
Hey
else?
guys, check it out.
Oh, there's the theory of class. There you go. Very good.
On the shelf next to me.
Excellent. So taking the half point on that, I think I did well in the first four, excitingly enough, with an amazing Star Trek knowledge, with 4.5 on that set, which I will gladly take. And so now we go to y'all's Diablo questions. And I think I have 5 good ones here. So here we go. Very best of luck, y'all. Starting with number 1. The 1969 film Death of a Gunfighter, starring Richard Widmark and Lena Horne, was the debut film for what director? Number 2. If Congress refused to listen to and grant what women ask, there is but one course left then to pursue. This is a line from a speech given in 1871 by what woman? Number 3, winning a total of 491 medals, what country holds the record for most number of Summer Olympic medals without ever hosting? Number 4, Matthew Perry, who played Chandler Bing on Friends, is the stepson of what fellow NBC figure born in Saskatchewan in 1947? And number 5, then I'll tell you, I think that in time the Jim Bonds are going to conquer the Western Hemisphere. Of course, it won't quite be in our time, and of course, as they spread towards the poles, they will bleach out again like the rabbits and the birds do, so they won't show up so sharp against the snow. But it will still be the Jim Bond. And so in a few thousand years, I who regard you will also have sprung from the loins of African kings. Now I want you to tell me just one thing more. What? And those are the 5 questions in round number 3. A varied set there. Take a pause if you want a little more time. But we start back up at the top with number 1 is the 1969 film Death of a Gunfighter, starring Richard Widmark and Lena Horne, was the debut film for what director?
So, 1969. It could be somebody like Francis Ford Coppola. So Godfather is 72. So his entree could have been this Western.
Yeah.
I think nobody else has anything.
I mean, that's, if I came up with any other answer, it would just be similar logic. It would be, here's a director who became super famous in the early 70s, so let's guess that he did this in 1969. Is that it? Is that what we're going with?
I think so.
Is Scorsese older?
That's a great question. I mean, he would be my number 2 guess off the top of my head for sure.
That seems better for.
Although although I can't date the start of his career as precisely.
Well, for some reason in my head, I was wondering whether or not this was a spaghetti Western and whether it's, but at 69, we've already got Clint Eastwood doing spaghetti Westerns, right? So I think that's earlier. So I'll wipe that out of my head. I could see a Coppola or even, no, because they don't, when does Star Wars, who are those 2 guys?
That's not till 77.
Right,
Yeah.
7. So would they have had an earlier debut in something like this? Or,
No.
or is this sounds more like a Coppola thing?
Sounds more like that.
Yeah, and it seems to me a little bit too early to be Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm getting Coppola.
All right, we'll say Francis Ford Coppola.
Coppola. It is not Francis Ford Coppola, but
Okay.
not a bad guess. So I will name some more films by this director.
Okay.
Some of the other films would include 1981's Student Bodies, 1985's Appointment with Fear, 1987's I Love NY or I Love New York, 1990's The Shrimp on the Barbie, 1996 Hellraiser Bloodline, and also 1983 one of the segments of the Twilight Zone movie.
It wouldn't be like Wes Craven, would it?
Well, that just popped in my head just because of how weird everything was.
Yeah.
But how old is he?
I have nothing to contribute other than thinking that Wes Craven doesn't sound like the I Love New York one,
Yeah.
which is the only one I'm vaguely familiar with.
John Carpenter?
Ooh.
That's the best I got.
All right. Going with the guess here?
Let's go with that.
All right. It is not him either. I will say that this director is played by Eric Idle in a 1997 movie. A film that is also by this director.
I'm just getting more and more confused.
Yeah.
And I'll give some strong hints here.
I think you have.
97 film that's so meta that it has its own director in it.
Right. It's because this director is certainly better known by a name than their person, because the person doesn't exist.
Ah.
So the first instance of this name is in the film Death of a Gunfighter. This is the name directors have used in Hollywood to stay anonymous, but not use their actual name.
So that's Alan Smithy.
And that is the name of the director here, is Alan Smithy, is a pseudonym that directors have used in Hollywood to be like the name of the director. These are all films I did are all films credited with Alan Smithy as a circumstance here. Certainly the best known of those is the Twilight Zone movie. It was because of the terrible, there's the famous like helicopter crash in the instance of the filming of that movie. So that segment used a fake director name in that. And Eric Idle was in a movie called the Alan Smithy film Burn, Hollywood Burn, where Arthur Hiller is the real name of the guy, but the director of the movie. But it's all kind of like a meta humor. The movie is like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like it's all like there's not really any good films with this name. But Atlanta Horn was in the original Western movie. Oddly enough, the two people. Robert Totten, which would have been incredible knowledge. It was his debut directing role. The other one was Don Siegel, was the other director, and he actually directed films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Dirty Harry, and Escape from Alcatraz. All later actual good movies, but no, Alan Smithy is that director of all those films, and so yes. Very elusive, and why a incredibly odd filmography is what I was describing. So there you go. He was fake. He is not real. Number 2 is, if Congress refused to listen to and grant what women ask, there is but one course left then to pursue. This is a line from a speech given in 1871 by what woman?
So is Susan B. Anthony too later for this?
I can't really put dates to her.
I know.
What about Katie Stanton?
It could be Casey or who would she work with on Seneca Falls? Like Lucretia Mott. Those were the two that ran Seneca Falls Convention.
And there's also, so there's this woman, she's the first woman to run for president, and Frederick Douglass was her running mate. Her last name begins with a W. Was she a Woodhouse? That's another possibility that popped into my head.
I don't remember her.
But there's only one course.
Aaron, when was the Seneca?
Falls Convention.
I thought it was. I can't tell you how much earlier. I would have. Well, actually, it was post Civil War, so that might be about the right time frame. But I'm really not sure. All I can tell you about it for sure is that it was Lucretia Mott and Stanton.
We got a bunch of names. What do we think?
We do have a bunch of names and no driving force here.
I don't remember Mott being so outspoken like that. Maybe she was. Any of this pop up in 19th century lit?
No, not my neck of the woods. Trying to, I mean, you know, if it's a literary figure, it could be, it could be somebody like Harriet Beecher Stowe, for all I know. All right, pick one, somebody.
Do you think, I mean, Angie, you threw out Susan B. Do you think that's because you think it's too obvious?
I think it's like the easiest name to come up with.
Yeah, I was going to push against that answer just because we're in the Diablo round.
Right.
Yeah.
You know much about the personality of Katie Stanton?
Well, the phrasing is kind of fiery in some ways, and she was a bit fiery. But I don't know much about Lucretia Mott. That's my issue. Even less. I guess I go with Stanton. Are y'all comfortable with that?
We can go Stanton.
Sure.
We'll go with Stanton.
The Seneca Falls Convention was 1848.
Oh, it was pre-Civil War.
Yeah, it was pre-Civil War. So if Congress refused to listen to and grant what women asked, there is but one course left then to pursue. That line is from a speech at the convention for the Equal Rights Party the year before 1872. That is the context here. And so this information now falls squarely to David here. Do you have
Yeah, this was my answer that I mentioned. Oh God, I was reading the
Woodhouse, then.
What?
You think it's Woodhouse?
Begins with a W. It's kind of a compound last name. It's a Woodhouse or Woodfern or, I mean, I literally saw this name in a trivia book last week. And so it's like, it was just a name passing through my head. And I put it on a Quizlet card, which I have not looked at since. Woodford.
Woodford?
Woodhouse. Woodruff. Crap. It's definitely a W. I think it's a wood.
Woodmeister.
Woodruff.
You gonna come back to it? Would that help? Much like Tonga.
Sure. Fortunately, I don't have my phone with me.
I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, a little more time to marinate on it if you want. We'll go to number 3 a little bit more. Is winning a total of 491 medals. What country holds the record for most number of Summer Olympic medals without ever hosting? And for this question, this is if in case of some countries no longer exist for various reasons, any city, like the modern day countries that are the equivalent of, so I will just say that like Berlin takes care of West Germany, East Germany, unified Germany, like the modern day cities in those countries, if that makes any sense, Because technically, famously, the Soviet Union is the second biggest winner on the medal chart, and it no longer will win any more medals. But Moscow hosted the games and things like that. So,
Ground rules.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, team.
Been like 2 southern hemisphere nations to host, or maybe a few more than that. I know that just Australia and now Brazil, ever since Rio, are like, and then maybe one other. I don't know if anyone else in the southern hemisphere, but then Australia and Brazil probably have the most medals, so I think that knocks them out among southern hemisphere countries. That is.
Yeah, there's.
It seems to me like it could even be something like an African country where track and field is very popular.
South Africa?
South Africa has never hosted. Nigeria has never hosted. Kenya. I don't know how many medals and all that. India, I don't believe has ever hosted.
491's a lot.
I know that's the
It's
issue.
more than just track.
Whoever it is sends a lot of people. That's the other.
Yeah.
Not gonna.
Tokyo.
Hmm.
And this is strictly Summer Olympics, right?
summer.
But they've never hosted any Olympics, or they never hosted the summer.
I will say that just to make it vague, this country has never hosted a Summer Olympics.
Okay.
I won't speak to Winter Olympics. That can just as a point. Just we're talking about purely the Summer Games here.
Canada?
Montreal. They host
Summer?
Montreal.
Okay.
Summer. (1976), I think.
Montreal 76.
I just don't know who's hosted. Has Spain hosted?
Barcelona, yeah.
You did? Okay.
Apparently, if you name a country, Timothy can tell you whether it's been hosted.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the place to start, is by throwing out countries that have probably won a lot of medals.
Yeah, exactly.
Populous country. Like, is Italy
Well,
hosted?
I would think Germany would be high, but they've hosted. Never mind.
Yeah.
Does Romania win much?
I don't think they send that many.
Okay.
I mean, I could obviously be wrong, but
They had a period of time where they won a lot in gymnastics, but not a lot of anything else.
Well, this is 491.
Yeah, that's my point. It's to me, it's going to be pretty broad.
Yeah. This is an awesome question.
Yeah.
This is one of those questions that cannot play well at a bar trivia. You know, like you have to have like silence and time.
Yeah.
Something like this, and yeah.
All right, let's be all right. This is
Ukraine.
all right. Let's be a little bit more systematic. Yes, Aaron.
Well, one quick question. So 491 medals, that means the team events, that counts as 30 medals, for example. So if you're good at a team event, like when soccer is in the Olympics, you can pick up 30 at once.
No. Okay, so for an usual Olympic count numbers, this refers to like a team event equals 1.
Okay, all right.
When the Dream Team won in '92, that was 1.
That was 1. Okay, I just want to clear that up.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's just quickly go through regions.
All right.
So Europe.
We said Spain's hosted, Germany's hosted. That's
Britain-
France.
France is hosted, Italy's hosted, Britain's hosted.
All right, pick a new region.
As far as hosting Summer Olympics, yes.
When you get to the countries in the Alps, those are all winter. They only compete heavily in winter. They don't compete heavily in summer. So
Right, Scandinavia as well.
Slovakia. Remaining countries.
Yeah.
Greece. Oh,
Yeah, like I'll say Greece has hosted a Summer Olympics.
yeah. They used to have a monopoly on the Olympics.
That's right. It was theirs. That was their event. And they leased it out to other countries.
throwing out countries without thinking.
All right, so what African country has won the most medals? I mean, is it a country like Kenya that is like dominated distance running for years and years?
It's true. There are so many races in track, like the long distance track ones that are like 1,500 meters, 2,000 meters, or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So it could be Kenya. They could probably have hundreds of medals in those, not just marathon races, but the long distance track races.
But let's say Kenya has been racing. Let's say they've been doing this since the 50s. So you have to figure out if there are 30 races and they've placed in 30 races every Olympics, how many Olympics have there been? 56, 50, what year would it have been? It was 64, 60, so 56. So how many have there been since 1956? And if they got 30 a year, 30 each time, would we get to our number?
Yeah.
Yes, about shouting distance. That's the thing. We're not talking about gold medals. You just have to get on the podium.
Yeah. And so I would be okay with, to a certain extent, I think I'd be okay with a track and field that has so many broad things. I mean, no country to my knowledge, no country in Africa has ever hosted the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And the same thing is in the case for Southeast Asia. So India has not. So
we can try Kenya. I think their medal count's high enough, but I don't know if we're gonna get one better.
I mainly just want to be put out of my misery at this point.
fair enough.
Going with Kenya.
Do Kenya.
So going for Kenya here. Kenya has the largest number of medals for an African country. That is correct. They have only won 103 medals in their Olympic run. Most of them are in the athletics category. That is right, but it is not in Africa. So I'll give you a couple of hints here. Is I will say that the country is European. I will say that. And I'll also say that fencing is the discipline that has earned this country the most medals? I have no idea how good people's fencing knowledge is. That is just what Wikipedia tells me.
I think it's like friggin' Croatia or something. Croatia or another.
Well, they haven't been around that long.
Yeah. So.
I mean, if you think about it now, you got to think about it from the start of the modern Olympics, which is what, 1900 or something like that.
I think that's the right idea, though. It's just probably one of the bigger Eastern European, like Poland, Hungary, Romania.
Romania, when there was a shit ton of gymnastics, right? So Romania, fencing and gymnastics.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. I've actually guessed they won more gymnastics than fencing. But that's a really good point. No, I guess it'd be one of those three.
Okay.
We're done.
Yeah.
Romania.
Going Romania?
Yeah.
Romania has won 306 medals. They are the second place winner in this specific category. And Aaron, you were right. It is one of Romania, Hungary, and Poland. And
I go Hungary over Poland.
And Hungary is the country here. Hungary has won 491. So in order of medal count, it is USA with like 2,500, Soviet Union about 1,000. Then it's Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, China, Australia, Sweden, and then Hungary at 491. They are the next ones there. The other ones that fit the bill, Romania is 306, Poland 284, Cuba is 226. Bulgaria 218 and Denmark 194. The ones that have not hosted but have won a lot. India does not care about the Olympics. They don't send huge contingencies and they don't develop their country to participate in it. Only 28 medals have been won by India in their entire exactly. But got a billion people, but the Olympics is not their jam. It is definitely more the Cricket World Cup instead. But yes, that is there. But Hungary is that country. Number 4 is Matthew Perry, who played Chandler Bing on Friends, is the stepson of what fellow NBC figure born in Saskatchewan in 1947?
Fellow NBC figure.
Stepdad. That's what's.
Stepdad. So it could be somebody like fellow NBC figure.
Who is just trying to think of Canadian actors of the generation, before, the 90s. Damn.
Figure.
What was that sitcom with the Seavers? The dad.
That's exactly what I was just working on, because I was trying to work on
He did game shows too. He was a game show host too, but he was Canadian, right?
Yeah. All right. So this isn't it. I'm just working backward. Who sang Blurred Lines?
Yeah.
So Alan Thicke.
Yeah.
So Alan Thicke is who we're trying to think of from the Seavers, right?
Yeah. So I think Alan Thicke. Yeah, I know he's Canadian, right?
I said, I was headed in that same direction.
Yeah.
And his age seems about right. But I don't know.
Kevin, you wanted terrific. Timothy, what?
Was that show that you're thinking of? I thought that was an ABC show.
Oh.
I don't know what any show was ever on.
Yeah.
Is that the one where husband, wife, 3 kids?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a psychologist or something.
He's
Mhm.
a psychologist and worked it from the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't say actor. He said NBC figure.
Figure.
Hmm.
Somebody like
A talk show host or a,
or like Paul Schaefer. It could be somebody like that. He's Canadian,
True.
and that's about the right age.
Who was the NBC Nightly News guy who had a short tenure as the anchor because he lied about getting shot at in some country? What was that guy's name?
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams.
Could it be Brian Williams? Is he?
Well,
Who's the guy who's the producer, director, creative mind behind SNL?
Lorne Michaels.
Yeah.
He's about the right. He's the right age.
I think he would qualify as a figure rather than a.
Absolutely.
I like that one.
Is he Canadian?
That's the part I don't know. I'm just trying to think of people about the right age who.
Well, a shit ton of Canadian comedians go through SNL to make it big. So
Yeah.
if I know Second City is the actual, in Chicago is the actual sort of funneling organization for Saturday Night Live, but I mean, there are so many Canadians that have been on SNL that I would believe that Lorne Michaels is.
And I mean, SCTV is all Canadian people.
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to think of people roughly the right age who have been with NBC for a while and therefore are a figure, almost a fixture might be the right phrase in my head.
I couldn't tell you if he's Canadian, but I like the idea of Lorne Michaels.
I do too.
Is that what we're going with?
Aaron?
That was me. I got nothing.
All right,
Yeah.
we're going to say Lorne Michaels.
All right, Lorne Michaels.
All right, so I'll be going over some names and dates for the people you've said. Alan Thicke, Growing Pains. I don't think anybody actually did the show, but Growing Pains is the show. 1947 in Ontario, but yep, another Canadian person there. You said Paul Schaefer. He was born also in Ontario in the year 1949, so in the right neck of the woods. Lorne Michaels is, in fact, he is famously born. He is from Canada, but he is born in 1944, but is not Lorne Michaels. I will say you are right to say that NBC figure. It is right. This is a person, not an actor. This person associated with NBC. He is certainly best known for an NBC show where he appears on screen. I haven't heard y'all say the name of the show yet, but it's an NBC show that this man appears on, and it's one of the personalities on this show.
You're saying appears like
Yes.
currently?
He is I don't want to say he's a host. He's a figure a major figure on this show, and certainly tied with this show.
So was it the Today Show or what's good? The show, figure on this show. Or is it
But see, appears on the screen doesn't sound like it's like the host, the major figure.
yeah.
Could it be like something like Dateline, where he's the kind of like 60 Minutes. He's the reporter who has this few moments to sit there and talk to you about it, and then they go into the story. Or could he be a late night sidekick?
Ed McMahon. No.
Ed.
Too
and
old.
died in poverty.
I couldn't even tell you who late night sidekicks are anymore. I mean, this person is in their 70s now, whoever it is.
Right.
You gonna give me another hint?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So Dateline is the show. He is a
Okay.
correspondent on Dateline, and this may be very hard if no one has any knowledge of Dateline.
Don't.
I've simply watched it, but I couldn't tell you
Sure.
specific names other than Lester Holt being the general host.
He is an anchor. He's the
Yeah.
he's the anchor for the show, and then
Yeah.
he's a correspondent, which is the word they use for
It was
it.
very white-headed.
That is right. Bill Hader has a very good impression of him and did him on SNL. But I might have to tell you, because if you don't know, you don't know.
No. This one you need to put us out of our misery.
Yeah.
This is Keith Morrison. Is this
Keith
man.
Morrison.
He's like, oh, yeah. That impression is Keith Morrison. And he is the stepfather of Matthew Perry. He became his stepfather before Matthew Perry found fame. But yeah, the main, like one of the main, like probably the main correspondent, of Dateline. Exactly right. And but no, that is there you go, Keith Morrison. I discovered that this last week. I was like, oh, that's a really cool fact. And
Yeah.
Dateline knowledge there. That is fine. Do you want to take? We'll go back to the question number 2 there. So
When you were reading the question out the first time, I jotted down the name Woodhouse, which maybe that was the name that popped out of my head as I heard the question the first time. So that's what I'm going to say is this woman's name.
got you. Woodhouse famously is the butler of Sterling Archer. That is Woodhouse. So this woman is the woman that was the first woman politician, the first woman president. Frederick Douglass was her running mate, and her name is Victoria Woodhull. Is her name Victoria Woodhull?
Oh.
Yep.
Oh,
You had a lot of it was a lot there. Woodhouse. It was sadly not Woodhouse. But yeah, Woodhull. But you had it right. That was the person, and it was like the speech goes on saying we can't vote. They won't listen to us, and so the only real course of action is to run for office. And that was there's more to that speech, but Victoria Woodhull is from her convention speech, 1971. And so now number 5 to read it out.
yeah.
And I'll tell you, I think that in time the Jim Bonds are going to conquer the Western Hemisphere. Of course, it won't quite be in our time, and of course, as they spread towards the poles, they will bleach out again like the rabbits and the birds do, so they won't show up so sharp against the snow. But it will still be the Jim Bond. And so in a few thousand years, I who regard you will also have sprung from the loins of African kings. Now I want you to tell me just one more thing. What?
So what's the word that you're saying that's going to spread
The J word.
the word that begins with J?
So it's the Jim Bonds are going to conquer the Western Hemisphere. That's a name. JIM space BOND space.
Jim Bonds. Wow.
In that sense, I will say Jim Bonds is plural of Jim Bond.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the Chris Kings of the world, if that makes sense.
This is this Absalom?
But that doesn't really ask a question. It sounds like the title should ask it.
I have no idea if this is
Question.
from Absalom.
Okay.
But Absalom is not a Civil War novel.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, but
Yeah.
they're
My only problem with that having nothing else to suggest is that it doesn't fit in with that last clue of tell me one thing more.
no. This is why do you hate the South?
Okay.
Okay.
This is the end of Absalom. So the final question that Quentin Compton's roommate poses to him is, why do you hate the South? And he says, I don't hate it. So I think that's the answer.
So the question is,
That sounds like it.
so you think the answer is, why do you hate the South?
No, the answer is,
Yeah, tell me one more thing. Why do you hate the South?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know. I might be paraphrasing, but it's something to that effect. Why do you hate the South?
Okay.
So like asking a question back.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we will say it, Kevin.
Why do you hate the South?
And the correct answer is, I don't hate it. Quentin said quickly at once, immediately, I don't hate it, and that is, I don't. And it's exactly right. This is the closing paragraphs of Absalom, which talks about the Sutpen family pre, during, and post Civil War. And it does, not very much takes place on the battlefield, but certainly antebellum, Reconstruction, and a little bit during the war itself. And that is exactly as Kevin was describing, is about the describing of roommates there in Boston. And the question is, why do you hate the South? And that is exactly the question at hand. Exactly right. Very well done. That is the exact right answer to that.
How long has it been since you've read Absalom, Kevin?
I read it first in 2004.
Okay.
My first year of grad school, and I've reread it once since, and that had to have been in the later aughts, like 2008 or 9. That was when I reread it, but I don't remember exactly when.
Very good.
Very good. That's very well done. By the way, the other question I had on reserve, I'll just read it out, is the all-black Civil War regiment known as the Louisiana Native Guards appeared in the Pulitzer Prize-winning poetry collection Native Guard, a work by what Emory professor and former U.S. poet laureate?
Can you say it again? Read it again.
Yeah, the all-black Civil War regiment known as the Louisiana Native Guards appeared in the Pulitzer Prize-winning poetry collection Native Guard, a work by what Emory professor and former U.S. poet laureate?
So what is that guy? So I'm an Emory graduate, and so I kind of notice Emory stuff.
Sure, that's very fair.
And there's this poet. I didn't know he's a Pulitzer Prize winner, but I followed him on Twitter for a while, but then I stopped. Wow. What is his name? Can I have this man's initials, please?
The poet's initials are N.T.
N.T.
Like New Testament.
I don't think this is the person I'm thinking of. Yes, Aaron.
Quick observation. It may help you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a man, because Chris changed just based on the interaction you two just had. Is that possible?
Anything's possible.
There was a point of to me, that, I don't know, it was a quick word change. Maybe it's just coincidental, but that's my,
Okay.
it's in my input.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah. Aaron, it's hard, exactly. So you did say what's his name, and I said the poet's initials are.
Yeah, it was a quick.
Exactly, and it's when I write questions, I do. It's bad to look at the pronouns and things like that. So she was poet laureate from 2012 to 2014, and her name is Tasha Trethaway is her name, and she was. Yeah, there was about 5 or 6 different poet laureate under Obama, and she was 2014. That was her. I think she was one that read. I think she read something at an inauguration, but Natasha Trethaway. But Pulitzer Prize. There you go. But on all that, with getting the Civil War question right on why do you hate the South, I think 2 points on all that for y'all, which is a very good score in the Diablo round. Like I said, it's shooting half-court shots and seeing what goes in. But well done, David. Only getting 1 of 3 on the Civil War lit, and it was Aaron and Kevin picking up the slack on the other literary things there. So very well done, everyone there. So also have our y'all's last 5 of the night and see how it do.
All righty, here goes. Question number 1. The second episode in the second series of Monty Python's Flying Circus used various communication systems to depict famous stories, including Wuthering Heights. What communication system was used to tell this Emily Bronte story?
Kevin.
I can't remember if you had shared that question with us before I wrote mine, Timothy, but here's another Bronte sisters question for you.
All right.
Name 2 of the 3 pen names used by the Bronte sisters.
And my question is, according to the United States Census Bureau estimates for July 1st, 2018, by population, what is the 5th largest city in California?
Number 4, this element is used in lighting for photography, movies, television, and stadium lights because it produces lights that is very similar to natural sunlight. This element occurs more abundantly on the moon and on the sun than it does on Earth. Discovered in 1879, this element is also often used in the production of some lacrosse sticks.
And number 5, name 3 of the 4 countries' flags that contain a crescent facing upwards. So like this shape, in case that was not clear.
Are you type party on? All right. So those are the 5 questions in round 3. So now back to the top.
Question number 1. The second episode in the second series of Monty Python's Flying Circus used various communication systems to depict famous stories, including Wuthering Heights. What communication system was used to tell this Emily Bronte story?
I have not seen all of Flying Circus, which is a shame. That could be something fun to do. So I'm trying to think of communication guesses here. I don't have any strong reasons for it. There's a number of them. I am going to guess what would be a very funny thing. I'm going to guess semaphore as my communication.
You are quite correct, sir.
Yeah. There's Braille, there's Morse, there's semaphore. There's not too many more after that. And I figured semaphore would be a very funny way to do it, of someone standing on a mountain with 2 flags. However that's get, I'm sure it's, just the idea of, it could be anything from like a recipe in a book, like a cookbook, to Wuthering Heights. It all looks the same to an untrained eye. So that's
Correct.
Chris, I love how all night long you've been, I've never watched a single episode of this show, but I'm just going to give you the right answer.
I have definitely seen more of Flying Circus. I've only seen like 2 episodes of the show. But the thing about, Flying Circus is like, it's like SNL. Like the skits can be watched.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot on YouTube, but I've never really ever sat down and watched an episode, You have to have like basically the DVDs to do that, because, you can just watch them on YouTube and it's like, oh, you can watch, Dead Parrot, whatever episode it's in,
Right, yeah.
I will say I've seen more Flying Circus than Star Trek. I'm sorry to say, Kevin. I'm shaming him because he's like, I'm dissing the thing he definitely knows a lot about, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm just a fraud in the long run. So.
All right, let's see if I can stump you finally.
All right.
Name any 2 of the 3 pen names used by the Bronte sisters.
And you said Wuthering Heights is by Emily Bronte. And I don't know Emily Bronte's pseudonym, but Anne and Charlotte Bronte went by Acton Bell and Corell Bell. And I don't know what EB's, or it's like it's one like Corell. It's like Currel. It's on like the other building at USC.
Yeah, Kerr.
Yeah, and Acton and Corell Bell is my guess is.
I'll give you that, yeah. And Ellis Bell was Emily's.
I did not have Ellis at all. I knew it was E, but I did not know the name there.
Yeah. Very well.
For the record, it's Currer, Currer.
I keep having Corell because there's a Corell College or Corell Hall at USC. So it's like, that's the name of it. Oh, that stands out a lot. But Kerr, which is like
Kerr
and Ives type, which is actually one of the less.
Mm-hmm.
All right, question 3. According to the Census Bureau estimates for 2018, what is the 5th largest city in California by population?
Let me. That's a fair question. Number one is LA, fun fact. And then, so I'm trying to remember how many California cities are in the top 10. I think there's a lot of sands that come pretty close in this top 10. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the list. I'm pretty sure. I mean, like what, New York, Chicago, Houston. So I think this is probably right outside the top 10. I don't think this is going to be a top 10. I don't think so. I think there's only 4 California cities in the top 10. I think that's right. I don't know what they are right now. I mean, I think San Diego, I feel like the top 10. I think San Francisco is probably a top 10. Maybe not. San Jose is in that probably 8 to 15 range. So I'm trying to think of a city that's right outside of the top 10. California geography strikes me again. That's not a city, that's a valley. What's good? I'm going to guess. I think San Bernardino is I think it's a city. I don't know. I think it's big. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Not a California person. I'm going to say San Bernardino is my guess here.
It is not San Bernardino.
Okay. I don't know if it's lower. I think it might just not be the right thing I'm going for here.
I mean, you did successfully name the top 4.
Okay. LA, San Diego, San Francisco, San Jose?
Yes, in that order. That's the top 4.
Good. I'm pretty sure there was 4 out of 10, and I recognize it's going to be the largest California city that's not in America's top 10, but then it was coming up with what those are. And then San Fernando, I believe, I'm not sure if that's a city or not. I know that's the famous valley. And
there's not, just looking at the top 10 for California, there is not another San in the top 10.
God, yeah. Palo Alto feels not right, but it's big. Bakersfield is big, but I'm not sure it's right. Maybe Bakersfield's right. I don't know.
9.
No, yeah. I knew it was big, but I didn't think it was that big.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard of it. You know, like most California cities are large enough where you've heard of them, but I don't know what this is gonna be. Like, without outside of naming a thing in the city, I'm probably not gonna get it.
I tell you that it's in the San Joaquin Valley.
I've heard of that. I don't know where that is.
Okay, what if I tell you that American writer William Saroyan wrote a collection of short stories whose title was the name of the city followed by the word stories?
No, you might have to tell me at this point. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's Fresno is number 5.
Oh, Fresno, that's home of Fresno State, which is the Bulldogs, who have won the College World Series at one point. But Fresno, that's the place.
The rest of the top 10 is Fresno, Sacramento, Long Beach, Oakland, Bakersfield, and Anaheim.
Yeah, I figured Sacramento wouldn't be the answer to your question. That seems too. Yeah, the state capital of California is the answer to your population question. That wouldn't. Yeah, Fresno is a place. Yep. In the Divot area, right? That's where like the Nevada and California merge. Just that neck of the woods, right?
I was there once long enough to eat in a Mexican restaurant. It seemed like an awful place.
Oh, I got you. There you go. Sorry, Fresnoites.
Fresno is the former, it may still be, the raisin capital of the world.
Yeah, nice.
That's how they used to advertise themselves.
There are raisins in California, that is for sure.
Mm.
An element question. All right, number 4.
Okay, number 4. This element is used in lighting for photography, movies, television, and stadium lights because it produces light that is very similar to natural sunlight. It occurs more abundantly on the moon and on the sun than it does on Earth. Discovered in 1879, this element is also used in the production of some lacrosse sticks.
All right. So elements, there's a lot of good details on this. So I don't know about the year or anything like that. The only thing I'm going to go on here, I mean, it's a metal, which is, I think, fair from the question itself. I know this element is used in industrial lighting. I think stage lighting is what is the only real connection I have here. I mean, this element has probably many uses. I'm going to guess tungsten on nothing else. I mean, it might be right. I'm going to say tungsten is my element here.
And that would be incorrect. The correct, I don't have hints to give. I gave so many hints.
Yeah, I guess outside of its abbreviation or, namesake, there's not really much more you can give. But that was all the industrial uses of it. I don't think you left anything on the table.
Okay, then I will give you the answer of scandium.
That's what scandium does, isn't it? Huh. That's interesting.
That's what scandium does. Okay.
It's 21 on the periodic table. I'm pretty sure the number, but did not know. I think it's from Scandinavia. I think it's like from there, but did not know any uses of it. And I didn't know scandium was used for those purposes. So, there you go. Good I know what scandium is. Very exciting to have context for it. And number 5.
All right. Name 3 of the 4 countries' flags that contain a crescent facing upwards.
Nonsense. So I got one. I have one, and my one for sure is Mauritania. One. And now I've been racking the brain to come up with some other ones, and I'm trying to. There's a bunch of flags, and they all look different. A lot of them tilt. That's the problem. That's what Mauritania looks like. I'm trying to. Doesn't really help with draw it. I still have the same shape. I'm basically just keep drawing the flag of Mauritania over and over.
So only one of the other 3 flags, I think it features quite as prominently as it does on Mauritania.
Sure, right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure. There's one I was looking at even earlier today. It's like the bottom of a shape where it's not even like you just have to know that's you just have to know that's the crescent. Like, how about Brunei is another guess.
There's 2.
All right. Need another one. Need to find it in my brain. Where? Visuals of flags. Come on.
Yeah, Brunei was the other prominent one. The other 2, it's just more of like part of a.
Oh God! So now we just have to come up with what's a fun guess here. Uzbekistan's is like that. Trying to think. Turkey, Tunisia, but those are prominent crescents. These are going to be like small. I mean, and now I'm worried about where else it could be because it's the Islamic countries is where you find crescents. That's where you find them. They're all pretty well seen. You don't really hide them. I'm trying to think what else is out there. Many flags are plain, and there's many flags with little nonsense in them. So hard to look at anything in them. Nope, that's Azerbaijan is pointing to the right. This is gonna be humbling to remember some flags once you say the countries out loud. I'm taking a strong half credit right now, though. I can tell you that.
Well, that's a very strong half credit.
Yes. I'm just gonna put a guess out there, which I don't like, but I'd rather just take a guess and find out what some answers are. How about there's nothing in the Middle East? All those countries know what they look like. It's gonna be something weird. Pakistan's on a tilt. I'm gonna go Tajikistan and be done with it, but I don't think that's right.
It is not. The other two are Mongolia and Nepal. They feature in the design of the
Sure they do. That, yeah, that's all fair. I mean, I know, like, yeah, that's hard. That is hard, though. I don't know. Nepal's is fair. Like, I've seen those flags, but I don't have, I know Nepal's shape. I know exactly it's,
right.
blue, red, white, but I never really took time to learn what the white looks like. And in Mongolia, it's the same. I know it's the yellow shape, with all kinds of decorations in it.
Nepal is, I think, easier than Mongolia. Looking at them.
Yeah.
Angie just called up those flags on her phone and showed me, and this is totally Diablo.
Yes, that is wildly hard. That is exciting. That is what I wanted to hear is that difficulty of question. And I knew Mauritania, and I'm glad to get Brunei, but those two, yeah. Now I didn't have every detail of the Mongolian and Nepalese flag, so now I know. But I will gladly take my half credit on that, and now I know what that Mongolian flag looks like more. That's exciting. So with that, I think 1, 2.5, I think is what I have there. Not getting Fresno or Scandium. Now we know what Scandium is now. So after all of this, I think y'all have earned a total of 9 points on my questions. A very, very good score. And I have a total of 11.5 right now, which I'm very excited to tell my guesses the ball rounded into the hole. We have one more question that was written by the previous team. We played last night, and it was one of my River Rat teams. Those teams straight out of The Office. They had The Office as their chosen category. And let me pull up the question sent to me earlier today from Liz Strager. So our question that she has written was, this famous Icelandic composer is known for creating the original score for the Academy-nominated films Arrival, Sicario, and The Theory of Everything. He passed unexpectedly at the age of 48 in February 2018. So we're looking for this composer. I'm not sure I'm going to have a name. I did know there was a guy that passed away suddenly in 2018. That all is reminding me of something, but I don't have a name here that I'd feel confident on.
Can you read it again one more time?
This famous Icelandic composer is known for creating the original score for the Academy-nominated films Arrival, Sicario, and The Theory of Everything. He passed unexpectedly at the age of 48 in February 2018. I think this is a film composer, not like a classical, something like that.
Right.
I know there was some person with this film. I remember that it was sad. Like, there might be more films than just that. Like, I think Hans Zimmer put out a statement, because it was like a big deal amongst all the prominent film composers. It was like, yeah, this guy was wrote a bunch of stuff, and he just died very suddenly. But I don't have a name here.
Nope.
I'm gonna say his name was Bjorn.
An Icelandic surname. What was your surname, you guys?
Bjornsson.
Jorgensen? That's fine. Y'all ready for an answer?
Yeah.
Kevin, you look like you were thinking. You got anything?
I just really like all three of those films, and I can't think of the composer on any of them. So
The answer is Johan Johansson, and it's Johann Johannsson. Johann Johansson.
I had the SSON part right.
Sure, yeah, that is there you go. But very well done on that. So we do not earn what extra points, so our scores stay the same. Y'all earned 9 points. I had 11.5. Did you at home beat them on their questions or beat me on my questions? I hope you did playing at home, but that was today's game. Thank you all to Sockmonkey for playing the game again. And as we still continue to be here in quarantine, maybe we'll play again one more time at some point in the future. But thank you all. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Wash your hands, stay inside. Hope to see y'all again very soon. Everyone have a good night. So.